Today's board meeting, test. Yep, it is 10 o'clock by the wall clock in the back. So let me first remind everyone, if you don't mind, to silence your cell phones so that they don't interrupt our meeting. Also want to remind everyone that the board meeting is live streamed. So this is the Mississippi Board of Education. It is May 16th, 2024, 10 o'clock a.m. We're in the fourth floor boardroom of Central High School building, which is the home of the Mississippi Department of Education, located at 359 Northwest Street, Jackson, Mississippi. So I officially call our meeting to order. Dr. Barrett is with us today virtually. So Dr. Barrett, if you could state your name and your place.
Wendy Barrett, Ocean Springs, Mississippi.
Very well. Ms. Werner and Ms. Stroud will be absent today from our meeting, but we still have our quorum needed to do the business of the board. At this time, I'd like you to stand, and Ronnie McGehee will lead us in our pledge, and Matt Miller in our invocation.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to come together. Help guide us with our decisions as to keep the best interests of the students of Mississippi in mind. Also, Lord, in this time of graduation, it's a lot of excitement, but please protect all of our students as they graduate and move on to bigger and better things. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. I will tell everyone in the room, Mr. McGehee, there's nothing better than hearing a bunch of third graders say the Pledge of Allegiance today. So good job, guys. Great job back there. That makes our day a lot easier to work with. So.
Absolutely.
You have before you the minutes from the April 18th, 2024 board meeting and our special call teleconference board meeting on May the 1st. May I have a motion to approve those minutes? Bill Jacobs on the motion.
Second.
Ronnie McGehee on the second. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ms. Barrett's aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. You also have before you our agenda for today's meeting. Are there any deletions or additions that you'd like to see? I have a motion then to accept the agenda for today's meeting.
So moved.
Mr. Pruitt on the motion.
Second.
Mayhew on the second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ms. Barrett's an aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. You also have before you our consent agenda for those that are new or don't attend our board meetings every month. We have a consent agenda on which the staff of the department sends us information days ahead of time that we get to review. If we have any questions as board members, we can call directors or the state superintendent for information. So we try to take care of these really day-to-day operational things that we do in the Mississippi Department of Education in one motion on a consent agenda. So any deletions there? No. So motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Mr. McGehee on the motion, Mr. Jacobs on the second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. That motion carries. Fun part. Gene Cook for our recognition ceremony this morning.
Good morning, Mr. East, Dr. Margino, and state board members. It is my honor to present to you the board recognition for the month of May. And today we are honoring Todd Willis, a teacher at Coldwater Elementary School in the Tate County School District, for being named the 2024 Mississippi Rural Teacher of the Year. I would like to invite Mr. Willis to join Mr. East and Dr. Margino at the front of the boardroom. Recognizing that more than half of Mississippi schools are designated as rural, the Program for Research and Evaluation for Public Schools, known as PREPS, established the Rural Teacher of the Year Award in 2021. This award celebrates educators who show a passion for teaching, learning, and making a difference in smaller schools and communities. Mr. Willis has dedicated his career to education, focusing on innovative and hands-on learning experiences. He began his teaching journey in 2011 as a substitute teacher, and his career as an educator has included various roles, including his current position as third grade math, science, and garden educator. His dedication to integrating real-world experiences into the curriculum is evident in his oversight of student projects, including the Pleasant Hill Elementary Farm Club, Farmers Market, School Vineyard, and livestock projects. He has actively engaged in professional associations, including being a member of the DeSoto County Soil and Water Teacher Professional Development Program, serving as an advisor and director of the DeSoto County Soil and Water Student Programs, and serving various roles within the Mississippi Goat Association and Mid-South Fair livestock, dairy, cattle, and dairy goat youth shows. Throughout his career, Mr. Willis has been a leader in staff development and training for future teachers, and he is involved in various workshops, conferences, and programs that promote education. He has received numerous awards and recognitions for his educational contributions, including the Fulbright Scholar in 2019 for the U.S. Teacher Exchange Program in India, the Arkansas Department of Agriculture School Garden of the Year in 2021, and grants from the Mississippi Department of Agriculture and the USDA Soil and Water Conservation District. Before we ask Mr. Willis to make remarks, we want to play a short video that we created in 2016 that will show you Mr. Willis's teaching in what it looks like in action.
Well, we have a garden, and our math is in the garden. So we not just do math in here, but we do it outside. My favorite thing about this class is first we learn a lot, and second we have animals.
We're moving away from the skill and drill for math. We're moving into, okay, you know the skill, but now can you use it? Can you apply that knowledge? Think about the math that's involved. How would you solve this problem, whatever the problem would be? Because I know that farmers are problem solvers. And because of my background, it just is natural to me. I think, to me, the farming, the natural world is something that's easy to do. The cross-curricular activities with the kids that we're trying to do, where they get this broad base of knowledge, but then that next step, the garden and farm provides, okay, how are we going to apply it? If this animal needs X amount of feed per day, how long will a sack of feed last? You know, it's that logical next step. And then once we make that farm to classroom to table connection, where the kids raise their laying hens, then they gather the eggs, they weigh their eggs, they put them in the refrigerator, then they get them out and they cook with them. So they have to do all the measurement that is math, and then if they don't measure it right, it doesn't taste good. So it's that real world connection that the farm gives us every day. We wanted to think about what is the problem and what is it really asking you. So, you know, when it comes the end of the year and, you know, there's normally this mad dash to, you know, do a quick review on that, we don't do that. And even though, you know, because we're busy planting a garden. I mean, it's time to garden at the end of the year too.
I thought I had seen it all, and going into my 24th year until I met Todd Willis, and then I realized quickly that I had not seen it all. And just all that he incorporates in his math and science and social studies classes is just amazing. It's had a great impact. Our test scores are some of the highest in the state in math, and as far as ELA, we've had 100% pass rate for 8 years on the Gateway. Kids love to come to school. They don't want to be absent. They don't want to miss school because they don't want to miss whatever it is we're doing in class that day. So it helps with attendance and greater attendance means more money for our schools, and high test scores. That's always great because we want people to move to Mississippi. We want people to live here, send their kids to school here, and it's just a great impact on the kids for a lot of different reasons.
We have a garden outside and we do a lot of math there, and our math teacher does a lot outside in the garden. We have animals and plants that we have to responsibly take care of in 20 minutes. We love this garden and it's big. We're the only school in DeSoto County that has a garden, and we are very thankful for it.
Okay, Mr. Willis, you're welcome to make remarks at this time.
Well, I guess when I look at that video, I'm thinking when I get back, I have to convince my kids that that really is me in the video. And I would laugh with my wife. I'm like, I can't believe they couldn't find anybody younger, thinner, more energetic to give this award to, but it's certainly very humbling. I need to be sure this time that I remember the important people, because one time I was being recognized and I forgot my wife. And my wife was sitting in the audience. And it was like, there's a Saturday Night Live video, you know, where this lady says, "Oh, Toby, when you get home, you would dead me." She had that look in her eye. And so I even wrote her name on here, so we forget. So clearly, you know, I need to thank my wife and my children, but I think that I couldn't do this alone. I've had administrators that have been so supportive, from Jamie Loper to Milton Kirkendall when I first got started. And then now for me to have Aaliyah Dixon and Deborah Cobbs helping me, because anytime you do something different, everybody takes notice, and they, you know, you have all that that you have to deal with as an educator, just trying to show them something new, because they can't see what the end goal is. And so without that support, you know, we couldn't do all the cool stuff that we do. So I'm real thankful for that. And so, and also the support of my teaching partner, Nicole Bacorn. Without her, you know, we couldn't do what we do at Coldwater. So I just made some notes that of things that our kids had done this year. So already, you know, they're doing the garden, they've harvested seeds from their flowers and their vegetables, and they've designed seed packets and created videos with QR codes to go on them, so their parents will be able to use their phones to watch their kids present why they should plant okra. They have done videos for all the things in our nature trail that we're doing with the Corps of Engineers, which has been a wonderful support for us, and an opportunity then for the kids to learn on a deeper level. You know, of course, once we get out in the woods, you know, we catch frogs and snakes and turtles, and we study all that stuff, and the kids are able to come back and research that and write things about that, that they're able to then present. And, you know, like most people, you give them an opportunity to create a video, well, you know, we're movie stars, right? And they love it. We've started a news program where we have anchors from 3rd grade that give the weather every day at the school. And then we started an art series where we're teaching not only the kids learn it, because they're doing the research for it, the 10 great paintings of all time. So then they're doing a biographical sketch of Michelangelo and Da Vinci, and presenting that to open them up to the world, because these kids need that at this age. So, gosh, I know I've probably forgotten stuff, but so that's probably it. And I guess the sad thing is, next week we gotta let them go. So we'll miss them. So thank you. On behalf of them, I thank you.
Outstanding work, Mr. Willis, and to our third graders there, good job. Enjoyed having you today. Dr. Morgino, report of the state superintendent.
Sure. We've had a good time. Of course, I do want to thank Mr. Willis and Ms. Tate and Tate County Schools just for Ms. Dixon, right? I'm sorry, Leah. But thank you guys for what you're doing, and this is great just to hear and just to see what you guys are doing and the impact you're making on those young people. Just a great group. So thank you guys for being here. Let's see, as far as things going on here, we had the Accountability Task Force met recently, and then we had our 6 regional superintendent meetings. We appreciate Matt Miller joined us there in Hattiesburg. We appreciate he spent about 2 hours with us and drudged through it. But so we had a good time. It's always good to visit with our superintendents and be able to update them with different things coming down. We also had our 3 regional teacher meetings. So we met with a group in Clinton, Oxford, and down on the Gulf Coast. And so it was always good to get feedback from them. And what was fun in this one, we took some of what our student advisory group had done and were able to share some of their final research projects with the teacher group. And so that was a lot of fun to share that feedback with them as well. Let's see, we recognized our district and our not district, but our state administrator of the year and our state teacher of the year. Both were from Lauderdale County this year, so special congratulations to Anita Wansley. She's principal at Northeast Elementary School in the Lauderdale County School District. She was our administrator of the year, and then the teacher of the year was Shauna Waters from West Lauderdale High School. So congratulations to both of them. And also appreciate our team here. I know Dr. Murphy I saw sneak in, and just our team here that put all that together. It was a real nice ceremony. It's always nice to be able to recognize them. Also was able to head down to the Gulf Coast and visit with Mr. East and the Gulfport Rotary Club. So that was always good to share the things going on across our state. Speaking of things going on across our state, of course, state testing has been going on. You'll get the results of the 3rd grade assessment. We're a little disappointed. We're down about a half percentage point, and so that's a little frustrating. Never want to see that, but anyway, let's see. We've got graduations going on across the state as well, so just a lot of fun times. You have state championships coming up. I know Mr. Pruitt, we were just talking about softball a little bit ago. You have softball state championships going on. We'll have baseball getting there, and so just a fun time of the year as schools kind of start winding down, and then everybody gets into the summer and you start gearing up for the next year. So just quite a bit going on, but it's fun to kind of see all these things come to fruition at the end of the year. A lot of fun times. So subject to you guys' questions, that's really all I have.
Anybody have any questions? So I guess I want to take a few minutes and just compliment Dr. Morgino. He was with the Gulfport Rotary Club, as he said, but he also met with the South Mississippi superintendents. He is now 2-0. He has been able to go down to the coast, have meetings, and has had very little pushback or questions. So you must keep that magic going into the future there.
We have joked that was all prep for the Gulf Coast, and no, there's some wonderful. We have some outstanding educators across our state. We really do. There's some really, really good superintendents down there.
Thank you very, very much for the job that you've done. All right, Kate is graduating and doing school stuff this week, so we do not have a student representative report. We do have one subcommittee who is burning the midnight oil here, trying to make some decisions on some important topics. So, Bill, if you want to share your report with us.
Well, on May 1st and 2nd, the Internal Accountability Subcommittee met to interview the semifinalists for the Junior Student Representative for the State Board of Education. Dr. McGehee, Mr. Miller, Kate Riddle, and I had 2 fantastic days interviewing some 10 fantastic students. If anybody gets anything out of that, of how good our students are across this state, because this was a very hard process to decide how to pick the 3 we're about to name, but they're good. They're fantastic. All right, so I'll announce who, because they want to know, so everybody will know. We have Crosby Parker from the Gulfport School District, Gulfport High School. Ansley Coleman, New Albany School District, New Albany High School. And Zaneta Kakias from Gulfport School District, Gulfport High School. They will be interviewed by us on June the 19th, starting at 8:30 in the morning, so y'all get ready. And at that point, at the conclusion, a student representative and alternate will be appointed by the board for a term of July 1, 2024 to April 30, 2026. So, fight for these students. They are well-deserved, but the others didn't make it are just as deserving too. But all of these will be on the advisory committee. Or actually, all of them interviews. Congratulations.
See, Mr. McGehee, in spite of a superintendent, you can still have good kids in your district, and that's how that works sometimes.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank y'all for that work, Bill. I appreciate it. All right, we have our action items to go through this morning. So first is an informational issue from Dr. Vanderford and her team on the third grade gateway.
Good morning. As Dr. Margino has already mentioned, Dr. Boone and I will be presenting a joint item between the Offices of Accountability and the Offices of Academic Education regarding the third grade initial reading summative assessment results. As you know, the Literacy-Based Promotion Act, the purpose of that is to improve reading skills of kindergarten through third grade students that are enrolled in the public schools, so that as students exit the third grade, they're reading at or above grade level. So students must meet a MET requirements designation, which is scoring at or above the top levels on the reading assessment in order to be promoted to the fourth grade, unless the student meets one of the good cause exemptions that we'll talk about in the presentation. So our vision and mission, as you know, is the world-class educational system so that students do have the knowledge and skills to be successful. And we have found over the last 2 years the impact that this Literacy-Based Promotion Act has had on our reading scores as compared to our NAEP results in fourth grade. This presentation primarily focuses on goals 1 and 2. So the next slide after this one is the initial assessment results. So 75.7% of the students passed the initial administration of the third grade reading assessment this year. And as Dr. Morgino mentioned, this percentage slightly decreased from the previous school year, in which we had an initial pass rate of 76.3%. The good news is that we did remain above the 18-19 initial rate of 74.5% before we had the impact of COVID. And so we've left in all of our charts the representations of the COVID years so that we can go back and pick up the results, the pre-pandemic results. The next slide is the percentage meeting the promotion requirements on the initial assessment. And so as I just mentioned, in spring of 2020, students received that COVID testing waiver. And in spring of 21, students were tested, but they were not required to have a minimum score in order to be promoted. And so as always, I mean, we're very proud of the pass rate that we do have. Initially, we'll see that increase as we administer the retest opportunities. And so the MDE wants to applaud all the teachers and the administrators, the literacy coaches that we have throughout our states, the teams here at MDE, and the families that work with their students. So just briefly, a couple of key findings. 45% of the districts had 80% or more of their students meet the promotion requirements. That we had 52 districts in 2023 compared to 40 districts in 2022. 9 districts had 90% or more of their students that met the promotion requirements. That's up from the 7 districts that had 90% in 2023 and 4 districts in 2022. We had 11 districts that had 50% or more of their students who did not meet the promotion requirements. We also had 11 districts in 2023, but we had 15 in 2022. So we've seen some improvement there, but none compared to the last year. This slide is just the areas in which a student may meet a good cause exemption. So the first one, if a student is an EL student that has had less than 2 years of instruction in an ELL program, then they could be promoted. The second one is students with disabilities who IEP states that participation in the statewide assessment program is not appropriate. The third category is students with disability who participates in a statewide assessment program whose IEP or 504 plan reflects that the student has received intensive remediation in reading for 2 years, but they're still deficient in reading, or that student has previously been retained in A grade, kindergarten through 3rd grade before. Students also who demonstrate an acceptable level of reading proficiency on an alternative or alternate assessment approved by the state board. And then the final category is any student who's received intensive intervention in reading for 2 or more years, but still is deficient in reading, or who has previously been retained for 2 years in any grade, kindergarten through 3rd grade. So these students will test initially, and then if they meet the good cause exemption, then we'll see these numbers filter in through by the time we get our final pass rate for the 3rd grade assessment for this year. So at this time, does anybody have any questions regarding those slides? Yes, sir.
The 11 districts that were less than 50% meeting, and you said there were 11 prior year, were they the same districts? Was there, how much overlap was there?
There was a great deal of overlap between the two. So at this time, if you don't have any other questions, I will defer to Dr. Boone, and she's going to provide the next steps for MDE and for districts as schools and schools as we move forward.
Okay, so next steps for MDE. We've already reached out to those districts, especially the 11 that you just asked about, to provide guidance, support, and resources to them. As a matter of fact, it went out in the Ed Update, a document to assist them, and then I sent it out on the superintendent listserv this morning. We're going through and revising and updating our approved intervention list, which won't go into effect right this minute, but it will go into effect for next year. We'll be providing literacy support grants to eligible districts starting in the summer, and then we're still doing the same statewide AIM, Pathways to Literacy training to all teachers around the science of reading. So we'll continue all those things from MDE's perspective. Next step for districts is to work with the schools that have more than 20% of their students reading below grade level. We're reaching out to them for additional support, because even though we don't have a literacy coach in every school, in every district, we're making them available to the ones who call us and ask for extra support. So the ones who we're there with, we're continuing to support those. But let's say there was another school or a school district who did not have a literacy coach. We're not saying no to anybody right now to provide the support that they need. Next step for schools, we're asking them to reduce the amount of time students spend on computer-based programs. Recommendation is 45 minutes a week. Sometimes that's more. Mr. East, you're nodding because we know in some districts that's more than 45 minutes a week. What we want them to do is to implement face-to-face, evidence-based reading interventions for the students, especially in those foundational skills where we know that they're missing. And so we're continuing also to provide training to teachers as needed. Questions you might have?
Go back to the 11 districts. A lot of overlap, but is there year-over-year progress? I mean, are we making up ground in those districts?
So I can defer to Melissa. Do you want to speak to that? I mean,
Sure. Some of those districts have made some progress, but some have been stagnant. Those are the districts that are typically we are providing literacy support to. But there are some systemic issues that have to be overcome in those districts. So we're working with them on those things. But there is local control, and so they still are making a lot of those decisions.
And on, every year, the report that we provide, the one that you received in the backup, for this particular report, just has the district by school and the percent that met and did not meet. But in the future, if it would be more beneficial based on some of the questions that you had, and we can do that now and provide it to you, we could adjust this report to be more similar to some of our other reports that we have in assessment and accountability when we get all the data back. If you want to see some year-to-year comparisons side by side.
I mean, I
For
would
those
personally like to
districts.
see at the
Okay.
district level to see where we're making
Okay.
progress, and know that what we're doing works, or is helping.
We'll be happy to do that.
And
So-
the year to year, that's also important, I guess, from my understanding too, kind of like we'd asked some budget questions, prior years, just what does it look like? Are
Look
we
like
growing?
from-
So, yes, thank you
Oh,
for that.
we'll be happy to
Thank
do
you.
that, because, we've just been reporting those numbers over 90 or below 50, but I can see where you would like to know if it increased from from 45% to 49% or something, because they did make progress, but still are under that 50. So we can get that information for you.
These students being tested are COVID kindergartners, right?
Yes,
COVID year.
well, they would have been, they're kindergartners in 2021, so they weren't in school when COVID hit in the spring of '21, but it's the year, you're right, it's the full instructional year following COVID.
And some districts chose to stay virtual that year, so it's that year. So it is COVID impact, but it wasn't the spring that we went out.
And many of them would have been hybrid on a schedule for the biggest portion of that year as well.
So theoretically, next year's kids will have been in school for full time, and
That's
it wouldn't be surprising to see some improvement and to really see the impact of COVID.
And we're, we have assessment and accountability staff that are looking at me, because we, even though our percentage was really considered to be statistically insignificant, it went backwards, and we want to know why. So we are looking and conducting some investigations around those test security investigations that we had last year. There were some third grade assessments that were invalidated that would have been included in last year's results, because we didn't really invalidate until later when we presented the assessment and accountability results in August and September. We're taking a look at that, and of course, there's just been an increased awareness of test security procedures across the state, across the agency. I think all program offices have done a much better job as we're out training and just emphasizing the test security procedures, and we've had a larger presence for on-site monitoring for assessments this year. So that could have potentially played a role, but we'll continue to do the research. We just can't confirm anything for you today.
And Mr. Mayo, to your point you made, when we were visiting our lower performing districts this year, that was the one thing we did find in common. Each of our districts that were rated as failing from last year, each of them had been virtual for, quite a while. And so that was kind of the one common thing we found. So I think that's a challenge for some of these kids that everybody's now just having to overcome.
Anybody else? Great job, ladies. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is an action item from Dr. Gavin and her team concerning some contracts that we need to look at and approve.
Good morning. We have 5 contracts that we're bringing to the board for their approval. The first contract is with Gay Jones and Coon PLLC, and that contract is to provide outside counsel in the Office of Special Education, and that's for the upcoming fiscal year.
Any questions for Dr. Gavin on that contract?
The next contract is a contract with the Mississippi Regional Education Service Agencies, better known as the RESAs. You can see the attached list of those RESAs that will be receiving funding, and this contract is for the RESAs to help provide assistance to the non-public schools to expend the EANS dollars.
Any questions on that one? Okay, not to go.
Action items 2C and D, those are two contracts with Houghton, Mifflin, and Harcourt to administer our state assessments. And both of these contracts are items 2C. This is the last year of a 10-year contract, so we will be going out for an RFP for the next year to procure a new contract for these services. And then action item 2D is also with Houghton, Mifflin, and Harcourt for a different assessment. And it is the last year of a 10-year contract as well.
Questions about those two assessment contracts? All right, Dr. Young?
Okay, and our last item for approval is a contract with Tan, Brown, and Russ. And Tan, Brown, and Russ is the firm that actually helps our office calculate the new student-based costs and which we used to know as MAP, but now be the Mississippi Student Funding Formula. So we will still procure those services with Tan, Brown, and Russ to help us calculate the funding for the upcoming school year.
Questions about that contract? All right. Under the Office of Chief Operations Officer, do I have a motion to approve items 2A, 2B, 2C, 2D, and 2E?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Moore on the move, Mr. Pruitt on the second. Any other final questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And Ms. Barrett votes aye as well. All right, we're now to our consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve our consent agenda for today?
So moved.
Mr. Miller on the motion, Mr. Jacobs on the second. Any questions concerning those items? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And Ms. Barrett's an aye as well. Do we have the need for executive session today?
I move that the board consider making a closed determination of the need to go into executive session.
So, second to that, Mr. McHugh. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. So we can clear the room.
The board has voted to go into executive session for discussion of discrete personnel matters in accordance with Mississippi Code annotated Section 2541-7-4A and K, and discussion and strategy sessions or negotiations with respect to prospective litigation, ongoing litigation, or issuance of an appealable order in accordance with Mississippi Code annotated Section 2541-7-4B.
to be, excuse me, I apologize. Lamarian, I said that wrong, didn't I? Lamarlin Wilson, please forgive me, Mr. Wilson, Dr. Wilson, to be the superintendent of the Mississippi School for Deaf and Blind. All right, anybody have a meeting they would like to report on that they've attended recently?
Two quick things.
Yes, sir.
I attended that recent meeting that Dr. Margino stated. I think it went very well. The representation of the department, especially the department heads being there, I think is very well received. I hope that is something that continues. I think it's good to have the faces in front of the superintendents. I think they appreciate it. Secondly, in my new role as our representative is on the Government Affairs Committee for NASB. I attended my first meeting virtually last week about CTE, and it's very interesting that I think we're actually ahead of several states. I heard several states in there, including like Nebraska, that they had nothing statewide CTE until last year. It was all ad hoc individually, so I'm encouraged that the strides we're making, we're ahead of a lot of people.
Here, and thank you for your service on that as well. Any other reports? We also need to approve Ms. Billie Jean Stroud to attend the NASBE New Member Institute in Washington, D.C. on July 9th through the 10th. May I have a motion on that? Mayhew on the motion, Mr. Miller on the second. All in favor say aye. Wendy's good. All, motion carries. All right, we have also before us the approval of meeting dates for the fiscal year 2025. May I have a motion to accept those? Mr. Jacobs on the motion.
Second.
Mr. Pruitt on the second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The State Board of Education, which will be led by Assistant Chair Matt Miller, will have a work session for the semifinalist interviews for State Board Representative and fiscal year 2026 budget meeting on June 19th in Jackson, Mississippi at the Central High School building on the 4th floor here in the boardroom, starting at 8:30. The June board meeting will be held on June 20th at the same location here in Jackson, Mississippi, Central High School building on the 4th floor boardroom, starting at 10 o'clock. I will be celebrating 40 years of marriage, and Matt will step in to run those meetings for us. So
I screw it up, it's Glenn's fault.
well,
Y'all realize that's a holiday, huh? That's Juneteenth.
we'll be here and doing the work of the state.
So moved. Making sure.
All right. Motion to adjourn. Bill, second.
Second.
Mayhew, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much for your work, board. I appreciate that.